Hi, welcome to FilmSauce. I'm FilmSauce, and in this Sauce video, I'm looking at Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, released in 1981, which is the first movie in the Indiana Jones franchise, which was directed by Steven Spielberg and written by George Lucas of Star Wars fame, Philip Kaufman, and Lawrence Kasdan. Steven Spielberg had actually always wanted to make a James Bond film, but he was denied, so when Lucas pitched Indiana Jones to Spielberg, he picked it up. Indiana Jones shows the story of pre-World War II world, where the US government sent archaeologists Indiana Jones to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis. Now, little child, put on your fedora, eat some non-poisoned dates, and relax to FilmSauce's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. The film opens up to this gang of men wandering Peruvian jungle. These three men These two men are following this random leather-wearing American, coming across scary face carvings, poison darts, the whole shebang. When the men stop for the man in leather to view the map, one of the men pull out a revolver, and he cocks it so damn loud that the man in leather pulls out a whip and disarms the assailant, who runs away. Now the man in leather steps out the shadows, revealing himself to be, Han Solo. Deckard. Red Hulk. Indiana Jones, who was played by Harrison Ford. Indiana and his only sidekick hasn't run away, Setipo, played by Alfred Molina, who was bloody Dr. Octopus. Anyway, they enter a temple, which is full of a lot of spiders, traps, and dead bodies. After swinging across a chasm, the boys reach a room with a juicy golden idol in the middle. But obviously this room is littered with traps, which are so easy to get past, and he does in like 2 seconds. But he reaches the idol and prepares to swap it for this bag full of sand, and after a few seconds of anticipation, Indy successfully makes the swap, and nothing bad happened. Never mind, the whole temple now begins to collapse, and the boys make their escape. When they reach the chasm, though, Setipo swings across, keeps hold of the whip until Indy gives him the idol, promising to give the whip back. But good old Doc Ock can never keep a promise, so he drops the whip and runs away. Indy, without even any hesitation, makes the jump across the chasm and barely escapes through the closing door. But not so sad news, Setipo dies, and Indy has the idol back in his hands, which won't be much use when he gets squashed by this iconic ass boulder, which he luckily outruns. And in real life, Harrison Ford actually outrun the boulder, and this little stumble was real. But poor old Indy cannot catch a break, as once he escapes the temple, he is surrounded by natives, who is led by one of the villains of this film, Belloc, a rival archaeologist, who's French, of course, but he's played by Paul Freeman, who steals the idol from Indy. Indy, seeing his chance, runs away through the jungle with the natives right on his tail. Indy runs through a field to his friend Jock, who is preparing Indy escape in a plane. Indy does manage to enter the plane and escape, and Jock's pet snake Reggie is on the ride, which Indy hates because he hates snakes. And yeah, you know what's epic now? It's the amazing opening is playable in the new Indiana Jones game made by Bethesda. We now leave the Peruvian jungles for a United States school, where he teaches an archaeology class of students who might like him. I don't know. After class finishes, Indy talks to his good friend Marcus Brody, played by Denholm Elliott, who was a radio operator and gunner in the RAF during World War II. Thank you for your service. But he did sadly pass away back in 1992. Marcus is here to inform Indy that the Army Intelligence is here to meet him. Indy now meets the Army Intelligence, who were played by Don Fellows and William Hootkins, who was Porkins in Star Wars, but sadly these two boys have both passed away. Indy is informed about Hitler sending teams of archaeologists around the world, looking for religious artifacts, which is based in reality, with the Nazis often looking for and finding these artifacts, but it was more often Himmler who was into this occult stuff than Hitler. The intelligence now spew out some information they don't know what to make of. And Indy figures out the Nazis are looking for the Lost Ark, which is a chest the Hebrews used to carry around the Ten Commandments. The Ark is seemingly buried in the Well of Souls, which is in the lost city of Tanis, and in order to find Well of Souls, you'll need a Staff of Ra. Bloody hell, there's a lot of exposition, and good news comes out of this meeting with Indy being put on the mission. Indy now goes on a flight to Nepal with the amazingly iconic map showing Indy's flight. Can't have an Indiana Jones film without it. We are now in some bar in Nepal where we watch a Mexican drinking standoff between some guy and this chick Marion, played by Karen Allen, who was also in the hit movie Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Anyway, Marion easily wins this drinking game, and once everyone leaves, Indy walks on in. And yeah, Marion is angry at Indy for breaking her heart 10 years ago, which would place Marion at 15 years of age and Indy at 27. Yikes, mate. The reason Indy is here, though, is to collect his old mentor's and Marion's father's artifact, which is the headpiece of the Staff of Ra. Indy is willing to pay a whole $3,000 for it, which adjusted for inflation would be around $67,000 in 2024. Marion tells Indy to come back tomorrow for the artifact, and after Indy leaves, she reveals that she has it on her. And I guess someone could smell the artifact because the Nazis have arrived, led by the slimy Tot, played by Ronald Lacey, who passed away back in 1991. After doing the good old-fashioned Nazi method of threatening Marion, Indy shows back up to save the day, and in doing so he sets a fire. A gunfight breaks out, and midway through, Tot finds the artifact laying on the ground, right next to a fire, and stupidly decides to grab the artifact, which burns his hand. Like, man, have you never watched Home Alone? And we hear for the first time this iconic punching sound effect, which was simply enough made by hitting a pile of leather jackets with a bat. The whole bar is basically burnt down when Marion kills the last bad guy, snatches the medallion with a rag, and escapes with Indy. And now they're partners. I'm your goddamn partner! I don't know why, but that line gave me heavy Marty McFly vibes. I'm your goddamn partner! I have to tell you about the future! The duo now leave Nepal, landing in Cairo, where we meet one of the best characters of the franchise, Salah, played by John Rhys-Davies. After some talking with Salah, Indy finds out Belloc is back in town, working for the Nazis. And Salah expresses his concerns about the Ark because he's pretty epic. Indy and Marion go into town shopping. And this monkey has been hanging around Marion and Indy, chilling. You should have guessed. Obviously, this is a Nazi monkey, and it is trading information with the Nazis, who decide to ambush Indy and Marion. Indy beats 6 up, and Marion is doing her part, but eventually she ends up running away and gets kidnapped after the monkey ratted her out. Indy goes looking for Marion, and some guy with a big sword shows up, and Indy just nonchalantly shoots him. Originally, a big fight scene was planned out, but the whole crew, including Harrison Ford, was suffering from food poisoning, and when Harrison brought up just shooting the bastard, Spielberg agreed. He was the only one on the crew to not be sick, because the only food he ate was SpaghettiOs. Indy chased the bad guys who have kidnapped Marion, and she gets placed on a truck, which bloody explodes. Afterwards, Indy's very depressed, so depressed he is chilling with the Nazi monkey, when some Nazis pop up bringing Indy to Belloc. And you may be wondering, why is this Belloc guy such a dick? Well, he's French. The two have a little chat, basically just Belloc tempting Indy to the dark side of archaeology. Indy, not liking that, goes to shoot Belloc, when he and all the men in the room pull guns on him. But who's here to save the day? all these children who form a body shield and walk Indy out. So if you want to survive potential death, just use some kids as meat shields. Indy goes with Salah to some old man where some guy poisoned the dates Indy so often snacks on. While Indy is toying with eating a date, the old man they've come to see translates the language on Marion's artifact, which says the height of the staff of Ra, and Indy figures that the staff Belloc is supposedly using is too long, and the Nazis are digging in the wrong place. Indy now throws up the date to eat, but my man, Salah, grabs the date, saving Jones after he sees the dead Nazi monkey. Indy and Salah walk into the Nazi dig site and climb a nearby hill where the map room is. Indy climbs down the rope and finds a miniature of the city, and once it has become the right time of day for the sun to shine through a hole in the ceiling, Indy places the staff of Ra in a hole, and the sun shines through the artifact, showing Indy where the Well of Souls is. Afterwards, Indy goes through the Nazi camp, stumbling into Belloc's tent, where there is an alive but captured Marion. But Indy refuses to free her because then the Nazis would realize he is there, and the ancient relics go before love. Indy and Salah now recruit some diggers to follow them up the hill where the Well of Souls is, and they start digging until they hit stone. The diggers now lift the stone, opening the door to the Well of Souls, which is full of snakes, because, well, we now catch up with Belloc, who is chatting with Marion, and makes her put on a dress, because why not? The two begin to drink, and since Marion has that alcoholic tolerance, she influences Belloc to get a tad tipsy, so she can be able to leave. But once she goes to make her exit, Tot appears with our third antagonist, Commanding Officer Dietrich. It doesn't do much, but these boys are here to get some information from Marion. Indy and Salah drop into the well to make their way to a tomb. They absolutely destroyed the top of it, lifting the beautiful golden Ark of the Covenant, which they pack away in a box and bring it to the surface. But Belloc notices the diggers on the hill, and Nazi soldiers begin raiding Indy's dig, with Indy still in the well. But hey, with Tot throwing Marion in, at least he has company. The Nazis now close up the door to the well, leaving Indy and Marion in the dark, with a whole lot of snakes. Around 7,000 actually. And yeah, one of the crew members actually got bit by one, but thankfully the snake was non-venomous. While Marion waves fire around at the snake, Indy climbs the statue, manages to use Superman-level strength to push the statue into the wall. Marion goes through some scary skeleton shenanigans. Indy finds an escape, which so happens to be next to a Nazi plane. Indy tries to sneak onto the plane, but he ain't at sneak level 100, because he gets immediately spotted. Indy easily enough meets up this Nazi mechanic, but now the Beefcake walks in. This Beefcake is played by Pat Roach, who played in all 3 of the original Indiana Jones films, but sadly he passed away back in 2004. Indy gets into the fight with Beefcake, who's absolutely demolishing Indy. Indy has to use dirty tactics to even survive. This whole time, the plane pilot is trying to get a shot off on Indy when a wild Marion appears to knock the pilot out, whose body starts the plane, making it spin in circles and hit a truck full of oil. That oil spreads everywhere, and combined with a nearby fire, that ain't good. And apparently this out-of-control plane ran over Harrison Ford's knee, tearing a ligament in his leg. And instead of going to hospital, Ford wrapped his knee in ice and continued on. Indy is getting pummeled by Beefcake, who's so distracted, he doesn't realize the plane's propeller is behind him. So Beefcake gets cut up. Indy and Marion then escape before the plane blows up. Indy now tracks down the truck, which has the Ark on it, with a goddamn horse. Hell yeah. And even more hell yeah is the amazing Indiana Jones theme. Written by John Williams and performed by the London Symphony Orchestra. Indy catches up with the trucks and ditches the horse, choosing to Grand Theft Auto the truck with the Ark in it. Indy topples multiple Nazi vehicles, but a Nazi hops on the truck and shoots Indy in the shoulder, and the Nazis promptly run over. Another Nazi enters the truck through the windshield into the front of the truck, where he slowly traverses under the truck. Then uses his whip to climb the vehicle. Then beats the shit out of the Nazi and runs that bastard over. Then to top off this amazing scene, Indy kicks the main antagonist off the road. That was an amazing chase scene, which took 8 weeks to film. To the stuntman who acted in the scene, Vic Armstrong and Terry Leonard. Bravo to the third Martin Grace, who was the one who toppled over that one big statue. Now sends off Indy, Marion, and the Ark on a boat to America. And now they say goodbye to Salah and won't be seen him until the last crusade. On board the ship, Indy shows off his scars, and that gets Marion all hot and horny. But it's Jones nap time. And man, he needs that sleep. In the morning, the engines stop, and when Indy goes to see what's happening, he finds a German U-boat knocking. Soldiers storm the ship, capturing Marion and the Ark, but Indy isn't found. The U-boat now leaves, and holy hell, Indy just climbs on top of the U-boat, and it doesn't show us in the film how he manages to stay on the U-boat. There's a behind-the-scenes recording that shows us. Yeah, it's a bit goofy. The Nazis and Indy land on an island offshore from Greece, and the Nazis prepare to open the Ark with a Jewish ceremony. Yeah, that sounds wrong. Nazis are stopped in their tracks by Indy with an RPG, who threatens to blow up the Ark. But Belloc calls Indy's bull, and Indy is captured. Oh, and it really looks like Belloc ate a fly here. Yeah, kind of funny. Indy and Marion are now tied to a post with front row tickets to the Jewish ceremony Belloc is performing. And they open the Ark, revealing sand. And yeah, that's it. Never mind. Power begins to surge from inside the Ark, and Indy commands Marion to close her eyes. Ghosts now fly around, but these ghosts quickly turn from beautiful to scarier than Lake Mungo. Golden lightning bolts were shot out from the Ark, killing the nameless Nazis, and the main antagonists have their horrendous deaths, with their heads shriveling up, melting, and popping. But best to cap this all off with a bit of fire. The Ark now closes itself, leaving only Marion and Indy alive. And let me just say, hell yeah, that scene was epic. Good job to Chris Wallace for this amazing, memorable effects that scarred many children. And I know it did, because I'm one of them. Back in the US of A, Indy is now in a meeting with the Army Intelligence, who have the Ark now, and are researching it. But who cares about the artifacts, because Indy is getting a drink with Marion. Roll credits. Wait, no. I have to disprove something. People have come out and said, if Indiana Jones wasn't there, the movie would have ended the same, with all the Nazis dead. But that's stupid. You're stupid. Do you think the Ark would have just grown legs and walked to the USA? No. Anyway, that was FilmSauce Indiana Jones. And how about we go on over to the source points? So starting off with what I liked about the film, the characters are all amazing. Indy, Salah, Marion, and Belloc are all a lot of fun to watch. The action sequences are just legendary. Like, this Boulder is more iconic than Shazam. The time period itself is interesting to go back to, and I love the supernatural elements. Now, what I don't like about this film is, and there's nothing wrong about this film that I dislike, a perfect film. That's why it was one of the first films added to the National Film Registry, and it got nominated for Best Picture. But I'm rating Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark a 9.5 in the source points. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, because that makes me happy. Now, goodbye.